Welcome to She's a Full-On Monet, a digital lifestyle magazine for women. Every week, our editor-in-chief, Kelly Castillo, along with Megan Block and special guests, participate in a deep dive discussion about recent articles and topics we have covered. We invite you to become part of our community where everyone's welcome. You can totally sit with us.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back. This is She's a Full-On Monet, and I'm your host, Kelly. I have with me, as always, Megan.
Hello.
Hello.
We have officially reached the stage of our podcast recording where we're rocking tees, right? We're like, whatever.
Well, I mean, it is a vintage Doors band tees.
It's super cool. I was going to ask you what's going on down there.
Yeah, Gabby, there's a vintage store right near Gabby's apartment in New York, and they specialize in band tees. And so I've been buying me ones when she sees like any of the bands that I like. So this is the Doors. I don't even know. It's so faded out. I love it.
Are you serious? The Doors is like one of my favorite bands, and because from our past of we've done a few endeavors together, and when we did a store together, like a retail store, I would always just like love the vintage part of the inspiration. So that's cool. I love it. Mine is Five Below, and it does the trick. So anyway,
bit of housekeeping before we get into our topic. We just wanted to give you guys a heads up that we will not have a new episode next week. I am actually leaving for vacation today. And I will be gone. So this will air while I'm gone, and then we will skip a week and resume upon my return. So thank you guys for your patience as always. And it is the summertime. This is a great time for us to take a little time with our families and loved ones and what have you. And I think summer vacations are kind of finally back in swing. So let's go.
Yes. Well, I'm glad you're getting some you time. It's much.
Yeah. I know you will remember this because every time I leave for a trip, there is some type of crisis or emergency as I'm leaving. It happens each time. The last big European vacation that my husband and I did for COVID, as we dropped off the dogs, I did that morning at their boarding facility, which is great. We love them so much. And then we got to the LAX and we're boarding the airplane, and I got a call from the boarding facility saying that my dog, who is like a human baby to me, needed emergency surgery, which was super great because I was going to be unreachable for the next 10 and a half hours.
Oh my
God. I
did
not know. I would not know her outcome for 10 and a half hours. So that was super, super great. And the time before that, as we were on the plane, so I did not know the crisis had happened. But when we landed, I had a million voicemails and text messages from my daughter, who was in her first year of college at the time, saying, call me, emergency 911. And I called her, and one of her friends had passed away, and she was distraught, clearly, and trying to get a flight home from college to be with her friends and his family. But it was just one of those things. So this time.
So when you step on the plane today, you're going to be like super chill.
Oh, no. I already know what's going on.
Oh my gosh. It's already happened.
We are flying out today. Yesterday morning, my son, who is 25, he is a very adult man, called me to say that he had COVID and was very sick. So that is super fun. I will be away from him while he is dealing with his COVID diagnosis. We have no idea where he got it, but we were all together for 4th of July, just was, 3 days ago. So now I'm worried about the other kids. My husband and I had it recently, so I don't think we can get it again this quickly. I mean, it's only been a few weeks, but he's very sick, and he was around his sisters and their, significant others. So I'm worried about everybody as I leave. And so that's my crisis for this trip.
Why? I'm sorry. You have so much going on that like you deserve a flippin' vacation that doesn't require you to stress beforehand or while you're there, because then you're mentally gone but physically present, and it's just, what's the Oh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, it's just
Oh,
hopefully he gets over it really quickly. He is 25, which most young people get over it pretty quickly, but he does have some pretty significant health issues of his own, so we're hoping for the best.
what day number is he on? Like, I mean, because I remember I had the very mild case, but the first day or two was like misery, and then it was smoother.
We were 4th of July, we were all together. Today was Tuesday. He went to work like normal. And then yesterday was Wednesday and he woke up sick. And
he's in the thick of it.
He's in the thick of it. Yeah.
Yeah. Hopefully it's like me where it was like really bad. Like I want to die bad for mine was the headache. The headache was so bad. I wanted to literally die because I couldn't sleep. I couldn't function. But then after like a day or two, like then I was just bored,
Yeah.
I was like, I could like give it to others, but I wasn't feeling anything. I was just
me too. That was exactly my experience.
Yeah.
So hopefully that's how he is. Hopefully I haven't spoken to him yet this morning, but hopefully he feels better already and is making a recovery.
You can just chill. Oh, I hope no one else catches it. A friend of mine, I'm supposed to actually see the Thor movie again today in LA, but her husband, they just got back from a cruise and her husband just tested positive for COVID.
Yeah.
So she's like, I'm not feeling too hot. I don't think I should go. Like, I'm probably carrying it. The kids are negative, but it's like, you got to keep testing, I guess, or assume that you get it. If you live with the people, it's a nuts, crazy thing.
It's crazy. And he was here at the house on Monday with his sisters and all their significant others. And they were, we're very close family. They were eating off of each other's plates. There's no sense of personal boundaries in our family.
I mean, but you could also give the flu or the cold that way. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying it's not serious. I'm just saying, like, when we get together, we all don't think about passing things to each other.
Yeah, exactly.
Like that. Oh boy. Anyway.
Today we're going to be talking about some productivity hacks. And I'm excited about this because Megan and I both are like kind of hyper productive people. We love lists. We love crossing things off our lists. We love our calendars and all of that stuff.
You're talking my language.
Mm-hmm.
There's something to that.
It definitely is.
We never feel like we're doing it enough. Like we're always looking for another way to like be.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And the hyper productivity is for me like such a defining character trait for me, a personality trait. Everyone always is asking me, I don't know how you do it. And I'm like,
me neither
do I. But somehow it happens. But today we're going to take a look. We've done some episodes, I feel like, on like time management and getting things done when it seems overwhelming. But today we're taking a different perspective on it, and I'm excited to talk about it. So we're just going to run down our list of productivity hacks for you today and give our spin on it. The first one is basically being kind to yourself. And we've labeled it the value of taking breaks, but we don't necessarily mean taking, physical breaks from the work. We're talking about taking moments for yourself within the chaos. And this is one I really struggle with because I don't have an off switch. The only reason I stop is because I have other responsibilities like my husband and my kids. So when it comes to myself, like the whole day will go by and I will realize that I forgot to eat, that I've had to pee for like 4 hours, that like I'm so in the zone that I like disconnect from my physical body, like the sensation. So I don't even realize I'm hungry or that I have to go to the bathroom or anything like that until I stand up and I'm like, oh, wow, like I should eat something. And so this is a big one for me. I can definitely be kinder to myself. I find that when I'm overwhelmed with my to-do list, trying to carve out time to do things like work out, yoga, meditate, take a walk, even just like take some minutes to decompress. I feel like I can't do that because I have too much to do. Like I don't prioritize it.
I agree with you, but I disagree with you because also you have told your assistant and you've done such a good job at like stop my ass at 4:30 or something like that. You do set boundaries, which for me is something I'm currently working on. Like I'll set a boundary when I've like done what you've said, like 7-8 days in a row. And I'm like, oh crap, I've hit the noodle. Is that noodle?
Yeah.
Anyway, no, but I mean, I gotta set boundaries, and I see that everybody else chilling at like 8 o'clock at night while I'm still working away, and I've been working since 6, and I'm like, but wait a minute, like, why? Like it's okay to set boundaries for yourself. It's just hard when you're in the zone, right? When you've distinguished that I'm going to be working from this point to this point, you just hit the go pedal until that time hits, and then I'm sure even then it's still hard for you to stop, because you like, I know, make a to-do list, but you make a to-do list that would be for someone's week, but it's for your day, because that's just what your life is, and it's never done. So it's probably hard to stop when you haven't finished, because then if you're a type A personality or a perfectionist or super hyper productive, then it feels like a fail because you didn't get everything done. Which is why we've talked in the past about making realistic lists that fit your actual time frame, so that you don't feel overwhelmed or you don't feel defeated. But definitely being kinder to yourself, whether that means having a stopping point like you do, or taking mini, like 10-minute breaks to shove some food in your mouth, and maybe not just eat standing up in the kitchen, like whatever's on, but like sitting down and actually enjoying. Like for me, it's really hard for me to stop because I have so much to do, but simply the simple act of making a meal and sitting down versus just like trying to eat something as I'm doing stuff, it feels like I'm treating myself, and other people are looking at me like, that's called lunch break, and like legally you're allowed to do that. But for me, it's hard for me to do because I'm anxious. I'm thinking about all the things I should be doing at that time.
Yeah.
But
That's exactly what it is for me.
I'm training myself to know that I deserve 10, because it doesn't take me long to eat, a 10 to 15 minute real lunch break where I'm sitting down and enjoying the food I'm eating, rather than just like scarfing it down while dusting or cleaning or writing it, whatever,
Yeah, that's the turning off my workload at like 4:30 or so started because if I didn't do that, I would realize that I didn't make dinner for my family and it was now 7 o'clock. So even that was motivated by other people's needs and not my own.
Yeah, I know.
But there's been only a handful of occasions in the last 20 years where my husband and kids were all out of the house at the same time for like trips or, whatever was going on. I've had the house to myself for a very, very infrequent amount of times in that 20 years. But I've noticed that in those periods of time, I will literally work until 2, 3 in the morning. And then I'll look at the clock and I'll be like, oh my God, like it's 3 o'clock in the morning. I've been up since five from like yesterday. And I'll crash, and it's so bad for me. And it's because I'm not thinking of other people, but I don't put the same level of emphasis on taking care of myself. It's really something I'm really knowing that I need to work on. And I think it's going to be easier now. My kids are out of the house and I can kind of make myself a little bit more of a priority. I'm working on it. I'm actively working on it.
It shouldn't be that way though. Like I'm currently in the thick of it with being a mom, and I don't want to label it a gender thing. Any parent, boy, man or male or female, who is primarily responsible for the domestic things and the kids, whoever that is, for my family, it's me. You naturally, and for most, it's traditionally women, they feel this need to do it all, right? And like they feel like they have to do it all because it's this traditional mold we've set. My husband is amazing, and we have this system where like he'll take the kids to the park. So even if like even if while they're gone I'm cleaning, okay, here's the thing. While they're gone, I'm always cleaning. I'm never just chilling at the house. Even though he's giving me time, I'm still doing things, but I have Fleetwood Mac on. I'm in my zone. I'm happy. It's a totally different experience. I have time to decompress my thoughts, and I'm alone. And not every dynamic has that. I have a friend who, like, I tell her, I'm like, bring your kid over, because her husband isn't the type to give her some me time. Like
my situation, I had 4 kids really close in age, and I was divorced.
Yeah, you didn't have that.
I was working full time and doing everything domestically.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, eventually I got to the point where I could have help in the home, but in the beginning I didn't. It was just me. Mm-hmm. And I didn't even have the every other weekend visitation schedule where I didn't have kids.
Goodness.
I had kids every day.
This
24 hours a day.
This is my friend. Yeah.
And that's where the habits were created, and they're really hard to break.
They are. You feel guilty asking for even the smallest amount of help because you're so used to doing everything on your own that it's so against your nature at that point to like.
Yeah, exactly.
That's not right.
And so what I've gotten better about is what our next tip is, which is saying no. I've gotten really good. I've made so much progress just in the last like year. I think COVID, which kind of reset everything. And then I've been saying no since now that we're back to somewhat normal. I've continued to say no.
You've been more selective on what you
Exactly.
do. Yeah. And there's something freeing to that, right?
Yeah, I really made a conscious decision not to do things that I didn't want to do, and not to prioritize other people's, especially not my people who were not my immediate family, my acquaintances and weak tie friendships, and people who call me up for favors and things like that. I have prioritized myself and my immediate family, and that has been so freeing for me.
So great. A lot of people, I relate that a lot to the social media world, where they feel like, when COVID happened, we all had to hit a hard stop on what we did. And now that it's back, they feel this, like, a lot of us just was like, nah, that's not for me. Like, I'm here for my family, the people that I love, and like everyone else. Like, I'm easier to say no to things now,
Much
because the
easier.
pressure isn't there, because it's so nice, and
Yeah.
free. Yeah.
And even extended family, there's been a couple of occasions where there were extended family events going on, and I could have made it work if I really, really juggled everything and ran from here to there and compromised my plan that I had already had in place. But I said no. And I mean, even as of yesterday, we were talking about this in bed, and I told my husband I was saying no about something, and he goes, don't you feel bad? And I was like, no, I don't.
No. Yeah, there's some funny meme I've seen about, like, oh, I can't wait to go into the weekend and cancel half my plans. Like, and that's, there is just something really nice to it, because here's the thing, depending on what your life has and what's going on, there's a lot of things that are planned for you and you don't have a choice in. Like, if you're a parent and your kids have lots of sporting events, you have like all this stuff going on, like sometimes you just don't want to, and that's okay to say no. It's okay to say no to things that are going to overwhelm your mind and your schedule and make you feel frazzled, because, like, not worth it,
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
It's just not. I'm loving that lately.
I've become so protective of my energy, and I'm just not willing to expend it on things that don't benefit me, that I'm not enjoying. I just, no, not anymore.
Yep.
And this next one is one of my favorites, because this is something that I do almost on a daily basis. It's a relatively new practice for me, but I have seen so much just change in my thinking since I started doing this. In the article that accompanies this topic, we call it making a happy file. But what I do, it's very closely related. I make a gratitude list. It's something I do. I actually got a new planner, and it has a section for each day where you make a gratitude list. And I expanded it because my gratitude list was too long for the little section that it allowed me. But I've noticed that when I'm having a day where I'm irritated, or I feel overwhelmed, or I'm just kind of down, making a list of all the things that I have to be grateful for has really helped me change my perspective and keep things positive, and understand that whatever happened that day is so temporary compared to like what my life in general looks like. So that has been a game changer for me, because I give myself so much more grace for the bad days.
We all need those check-ins, right? Every now and then. It's good when you have them, and sometimes they come out of nowhere, but perspective is very helpful in times when things feel just like very overwhelming, because it's not that bad,
No.
And it's okay. We're all human. We all like make mistakes, but yeah, like that's whether it's a list or just a little, like a little reminder inside your head, like that, okay, that like for my kids, what happens with my toddler, and it actually helps as an adult, is when she's crying or feeling overwhelmed, my husband and I will try and get her to like notice, like, how does the air feel? Does it feel cold? Does it feel hot? Like, what does this feel like? Like, try and get your other senses more like apparent to you, because then it calms your nerves down, and then it kind of like calms everything else down around you. And
Exactly.
it's like, yes, it works for toddlers, but it also works for adults. So like, you know, the sun is shining on your skin. That feels really nice at the moment, you know, like whatever you pour your thought and your energy into, that's where it's going to flow, you know? So whether it's writing it down, as you're reading it back to yourself, you start to look at all those things and start to realize things are actually really great.
Yeah.
You know? Or just noticing something beautiful around you, like the flowers or how great the sun feels, just redirecting that energy to something positive will help you in that moment, because it can get very consuming. You know, once you feed it, it will start to get bigger and bigger. Whatever you feed will grow. So yeah, it's a good thing to do. I'm not much of a writer. I don't like to write things down, but I like to think about the things that I'm grateful for, and that just redirects my mind into where it should be at that moment, you know?
Yeah, I think that's exactly what it is. And sometimes my list starts out really, if I'm in a really negative mindset, it's exactly what you said. Sometimes it's just like, it was beautiful weather today. And
yeah, like sometimes you're at a stoplight and it's like you're about to lose your ish on the next person to give you a dirty look, and you really just need a happy thought. Like Peter Pan, you just need like a happy thought, you know? If you can't write it down, think about the things that make you feel grateful. Think about the things around you that are wonderful and beautiful. You know, something lately that happened to you that was really amazing. You know, nothing.
Yeah, even as something as simple as, I'm at the stoplight, I'm running late, I'm so stressed out, everything sucks. My morning was shit. But you know what? My car is running fine. I have a reliable car.
Oh,
I'm not waiting for the bus. It's a beautiful day.
If you want to think things could be worse, if that's not the way you want to go, like for some reason, like life always reminds me things could be worse when I'm like thinking about how shit my life is. Then I look over and there's someone like asking for money, and I'm like, all right, cool. I don't need to worry about that this morning. And so like it just, and then it's okay to feel like an asshole, because you will, because our mind just goes towards that negative thought and it just spirals sometimes, you know? It's a practice. The mental muscle in there is such a flex, like to get a hold of, because, you know, like remember when we were kids and like, you know, so and so couldn't play and you were looking to forward to it all day and life is over. Like that's how we are as adults. Like, you know, after the fifth terrible thing that's gone wrong, like we'll F everything then, you know, and we need to revert our mind back to something positive. So if you're a writer, writing down lists is great. A happy list, a happy file, you know, maybe it's pulling up pictures on your phone that make you happy.
Yeah, or just
Pinterest quotes. I love a good Pinterest.
Or if you keep a happy file on your computer, you can put emails in there where people like thank you for something nice you did or compliment you, and happy photos, memories.
I love going to Pinterest and looking up quotes, and like for some reason that pulls me out of a negative space.
Yeah, definitely.
There's a lot of really great motivation.
There's a lot of positivity podcasts, or you know, one of my favorite things on Spotify, they have a whole category of like positivity or happy songs. So they have like sing-along songs, happy songs, like road trip songs, which are always like a vibe. And I love those playlists because I can just like, it'll change my mood just singing along. Yeah.
And like if none of those work, Jagged Little Pill by Alanis Morissette will
scream it out.
Do the trick for me. No matter what your problem is, Jagged Little Pill will do it.
And sometimes, you know, if we're in that kind of a funk and we're overwhelmed, the next tip is really helpful, is just phoning a friend and venting it out to someone who is a safe space for you. Sometimes that makes all the difference. I know when I'm struggling with a decision or something I just can't seem to find the answer to, sometimes talking it out with someone else, I come up with my own solution, because something about like verbalizing it helps me work it out.
Well, we're like a balloon and eventually we're going to pop. We just need to like let it out a little bit, you know?
Yeah.
And it's always to your person, whoever that person is. For me, it's my husband. This morning, I literally it wasn't one of those things where I was like, you need to do something about it. I just had to let someone know that I have officially lost my shit. And it was at like 7:30 this morning. And he was just like, oh, you know, but I needed to tell someone. And I felt almost a little bad after, because I'm like, oh, is he going to think he needs to fix it? But sometimes just like venting it out to a person you feel safe with, who isn't, like we've talked about this in other podcasts, who can handle it and not feel burdened by it.
Right. That's the key.
You know, it really is a little bit of a release. And if you don't have that person, hey, therapy, great. Always great to unload to someone who is being paid and trained to unload on, if you don't have that person who can handle that sort of thing, because it's so hard out there with everything going on and all the things we have to do nowadays and all the boxes we have to check off just as people, regardless of if you're a parent or what your life journey is. It's just hard being a person. So if you don't have somebody or some way to outlet that out in a healthy way, like, therapy's great. You can always pay a person.
Yeah, exactly. I think for me too, when I'm in a really negative mindset, and this is different from productivity, because I still think sometimes productivity wise, when my to-do list is insurmountable, what helps me if I do take a break is, I know you're on with me on this, is to rage clean.
Oh,
I am a rage cleaner. My
that
house
fixes problems like a clean kitchen.
Yeah.
Yes.
My house is never cleaner than
I didn't
when
know
I
that
am
was
in a
thing.
terrible place.
I just thought I thought I was broken as a person. Like, I didn't know what to do with my rage. So
Yeah, it's a whole thing. But you can tell what's going on in my life by the cleanliness of my house. I mean, if I'm down there on the baseboards with a toothbrush, I'm saving someone from murder at
You've
that point.
seen the movie The Breakup, right? With Vince Vaughn and Jennifer Aniston. Remember, after their really big fight, she has like her rubber gloves on and she's like scrubbing the kitchen as she's talking to her friend. That's like rage cleaning. Like, that's just, something's up when like the bleach is out. You're like, oh shoot, we'll come back in an hour. She's going through it, right?
Yeah, she's in the thick of it.
I wish I could rage nap.
Oh, right. I can't though.
Or like rage watercolor, or like, why is it cleaning? Why is it the one thing that, like, I'm angry at the overwhelm of my life? I'm going to go continue to work at that. Why can't I just be like, I'm going to go horseback riding? Why can't I rage Is there another form of rage? Like, you know what I mean? Cause like, I honestly thought, okay, why is it that when I'm most overwhelmed or most anxious that clean, and it's not the whole house, that would be exhausting. It's just one part, right?
Right. Yeah. It's always like, usually for me, it's the kitchen.
It's the laser focus on one part. The magic erasers are out. You introduced me to those, by the way. Didn't know those existed in the world. You're like, ha.
If you come over to my house and everything from my closet is piled on the bed, and music is blaring, and you probably want to turn around. Probably go away.
I laugh because I've seen all of this before. Yeah, no, it's true. And it's so common, I'm sure, because like in a world where we can't control anything. And even in our world where we still can't control everything. And even when we write down lists and it's still out of control because we've been, distracted a billion times that day. If we can just get all of the spots off the floor in this one space, then it's a win. And it is
as far as productivity goes for me, a lot of times the things on my to-do list have impact long-term, but not immediate. I do a lot of things like for our investments and financial stuff where I'm not going to see an immediate response from that. But when I start cleaning, and I can take even just the kitchen sink from looking like a bomb went off in it to being sparkling, perfectly white clean, that's an immediate gratification that just like gives me a little serotonin, and that's what I need. Like our bathroom in our pool house is one of the last areas of our house that we haven't renovated, and it's like white tile, like 80s white tile, the big square ones. I love cleaning that room. I love it cleaning that room better than any other room because it's like a grid system and I can see my progress as I work across. It's so like geometrical, and I'm so happy when it just like all sparkles. I have a problem, I think.
I also think because, correct me if I'm wrong, but if you're a parent of a young one, especially, or teenager, you'll clean something and then within 10 minutes, it's already dirty again. And it feels defeating. So it's like, if you can just like make the spots go away in one area long enough in an area, I feel like we do the kitchen because it's like the less trucked in. It's trucked in, but like my kids aren't playing in it. They're not going to the bathroom in it. So like it'll get dirty the least quickly and I'll feel like an Avenger longer. Do you know what I mean? Like,
totally.
But
absolutely.
If I go clean their bedroom, it's like, what's the point? And by the time I leave it, it's going to be a freaking tornado again. So it's like, frustrating.
No, cleaning while the kids are in the house is like brushing your teeth while you're eating Oreos. It's
I'm over
totally purposeless.
I'm over it. And you get to a point where you're like, wait, if I keep doing this for you, you're going to leave the house and not know what to do yourself. So then there's the exhausting fun of showing them how to be productive themselves. And that never ends well because they either half-ass it or they're complaining the whole time. But it's like, you want to leave the world and not know how to clean your bathroom? Like, good luck, ma'am. So
exactly.
Anyway,
I think one of the key things to getting a lot done on your to-do list, but it's kind of a double-edged sword because it's getting enough sleep, and it's hard to get enough sleep when you're thinking of all the things you need to do. But if you get enough sleep, you can do more. So it's like a catch-22, basically.
Oh, really? I just drink more caffeine because if I try that, I can't. Do you nap? Are you a napper?
No, I can't nap.
Can't nap. I think I've taken like 2 successful naps in my life, and by successful, I mean I haven't woken up feeling like I went through a time warp, and you're like foggy and you're like, what year is it? Like, that's how I always feel. But yeah, no, if I don't get enough sleep and I wake up tired, it's a rough mountain to climb that day, especially when there's already things on my list that are kind of like non-negotiables. They're like, cool, so we're just gonna ride this out together, and then you have to be a parent and you have to be pleasant to people, and it's a joy when you don't get enough. For me, I can't go to bed too late because I will naturally wake up like it's 5:45, 6 a.m. every single day, no matter what happened the night before. So I have to try and get to bed by like 10:30, 11 at the latest, because my body just
Mine too.
Six. So if I go to bed at 2 because I was, up watching a show or something and then fell asleep and then woke up again, then it's like a rough day the next day. So sleep is a big factor if you're trying to just like think of your body as like a machine, or like your phone, like plug it in for more battery. You don't want to be running at 16% battery all day. It's going to be really hard.
So. Yeah, it's really important, but it's also one of the most challenging things to do when you feel overwhelmed.
To turn your brain off.
Yeah. It's just, I think we talked about taking breaks in terms of being kind to yourself and prioritizing self-care to some extent, but taking actual breaks from the tasks that you're doing is really important, whether that like a mental break where you take 10 minutes and scroll your phone instead, or play a game or do something like that instead of whatever thing you're working on, or a physical break where you actually like get up and go walk around, or, I don't even know, stretch or whatever it is that you feel like you need to do. It depends on what you're working on. Also, obviously, like sometimes there's certain times of the month where I have to be on the computer and it's a lot of like financial spreadsheets and reconciliation of accounts where the numbers start to just blur together. And I have to step away from my computer, physically step away from my computer and do something else for 10 or 15 minutes. And then when I come back to it, I'm much more productive than I was before I stepped away.
Absolutely. Because you can't make mistakes. I used to work a data entry job, and it was a nighttime job from I would clock in at 8 p.m. and I would, after a full day of being a mom and also being a part-time nanny, and then I would clock in at 8 and then I would stop at like 12. But it was strictly inputting information for a solar panel company, and it was like the most mind-numbing thing because like things would just start to blur, and I would purposely have to step away and like do something for 10 minutes, because if I made the smallest mistake, it would make the whole company effed over. And it was such a time, like it was just so like when you're staring at the screen like that. So if you have a job like that where you're just staring a lot and data entry, you have to take breaks just simply so you can be the best employee you can be. I know that when I take breaks, even when I go simply do something like working out, I know when I come back to my work, I'm going to be like a bunch better than I was if I just tried to like power through it all day and just was like a robot. Like we need to do small things for ourselves so that we are like working at our best possible capacity.
Yeah. I mean, if you think back to like the old office building offices in the 50s and 60s, even 70s and 80s, they had those like water coolers with the little paper cup that held just enough for a sip of water. And nobody carried around Hydro Flask. So this was all the water you were getting. and they were always like next to the coffee maker too.
Mm-hmm.
Taking that physical break of getting up from your work and walking over to the water cooler, getting one drink of water, saying hi to a coworker who's also at the water cooler, and walking back to your desk was like a reset of your productivity. And that's exactly why they did that. They could have easily, given you actual glasses, like larger cups. But no, that was not the point. The point was to take a physical break. So we have to remember that. And you and I are both pros at this. So this is not something we need to work on, I don't think. Creating a rhythm. So I'm a habit of routine. I like to do things in the same order at the same time every day. I get into a rhythm of my life, and getting all my tasks done that are regular tasks is very doable for me because I have them as part of my rhythm or my routine. But if I'm doing a larger task, like wrapping presents at Christmas, cleaning the house, deep cleaning something, cleaning out my closet, whatever it is, I create a rhythm of doing that by just what you said, putting on music that makes me happy and want to move around, and just like powering through it. And I mean, I know you and I have the same kind of cleaning philosophy too, where we move around a room clockwise, top to bottom. Don't make gravity work against you, and rock the music and just get it done. And I think I'm much faster at my tasks when I get into that like zone or rhythm. And I'm also able to do a lot more than most people think is possible because I do have so many routines in place. Mm-hmm. I have done things like I've stacked habits. I've put things automated as much as I can. I schedule things to happen at the same time every week or same time every month. So they're very predictable for me. And I don't wait until things are urgent. I'm trying to be very proactive about them. So I have like for my house, I have like a daily maintenance list, a monthly maintenance list, a quarterly maintenance
you
list.
do something like today that your tomorrow self will thank you for. You're very
yeah, exactly. So it never happens to me where I'm like, oh, my rain gutter collapsed because no one's cleaned it out in 3 years, because that's on a quarterly maintenance list and
You're
it
awesome.
gets done.
I want to be that. I wait till disaster strikes. I'm like, oh yeah, that. Anyway, work in progress.
Yeah, it's the same thing about like 5:15 rolls around and I'm like, oh, do we have anything to make for dinner? Oh no, that crap is planned out. Like we got this, because I know my day is usually scheduled in 15-minute increments. And I know that if something gets delayed or thrown off, the whole rest of my day will get thrown off. So that's why I delegate where I can. I automate. I have lists for everything. I have processes for everything.
And it sounds exhausting and it sounds not doable, but honestly, it probably took you sitting down, really thinking about that exact situation and how can you be your own best friend in that moment and simplify it. And then you just wash, rinse, and repeat. It's doing it a little bit to like a type A personality one time and then applying it, right?
Right. Because I have really bad luck. So crazy things happen to me. And whenever something like that crazy happens to me, I ask myself like, okay, I know that I have bad luck, but that's a cop out. So what's my percentage of responsibility? What could I have done differently that maybe would have avoided this situation? And then whatever that is, I just add that into my practices and routines.
See, you don't allow yourself to be the victim of your circumstances.
Right.
Which is really helpful, because a lot of people will just throw in the towel, but sorry, like we can't, we have to just keep trucking. So you found a way to, be your own best ally in these moments, because that some shit's going to hit the fan every single day, whether it's,
and so when things come up, I feel much more prepared for them.
Because could you imagine your life? And also, what are we eating for dinner? No, no thanks. I'd rather, I see that, because.
Right. We're leaving for a trip today, and I've packed us, obviously my husband and I already know, because I've had my luggage be lost by the airline before, as you have.
Absolutely.
I've had someone spill on me within the first 15 minutes of the plane, all over my pants.
You are so overly prepared. It's not even
I've
funny.
had a child throw up on me on a 6-hour flight. So I am prepared for any contingency. I have extra clothes in my carry-on. I cross pack so that if one luggage is lost, we still have clothes in the other luggage for both of us. I mean, I've prepared.
You're like, my biggest
doesn't-
flex is this trip preparation at the
But
moment.
it doesn't take me any extra time to pack that way. It just has become part of my rhythm. So now it happened to me once. I learned from it, and it won't happen to me again in the same way because
anyone who's had their luggage lost, me too,
Yes.
can tell you it is, I don't care where you're going or what's happening. For me, it was going to a wedding in Italy, and I was wearing PJs and didn't have any extra clothes. It is a traumatic experience, and you
Yes,
will forever prepare for that moment. I'm like, I will wear a wedding gown and underneath that, my jeans. Like, you are not taking me down next time, because it is bullshit. And so
it is.
I get it. And then all it takes is you having to go through that moment or know someone who has, like us, people listen to us and just like cross pack, because that's genius. I didn't even think to do that. Like putting
always
someone
cross-pack.
else's luggage.
Yeah. So we have my suitcase is really half mine and half my husband's, and his suitcase is the same. So I would have plenty of outfits to get me through until my luggage arrived.
I had to find an H&M in Italy, like stat, and I was wearing pajamas and people were pointing at me and laughing. So I was just like hoping to find anything. It was awful. So that's
it's really
idea.
crazy.
Okay.
Or I wore a shirt covered in Hawaiian punch throw up for 6 hours to Hawaii.
That's
and
awful.
I will never do it again, because now I know I will have extra clothes in my carry-on. Every member of the family has one extra outfit in their carry-on.
Yeah.
Because it
just takes enough of one bullshit thing happening. Like for me, my kids are always cold when we go somewhere. So I have jackets in the car because I'm just prepped for that. I'm not going to go buy a jacket. I don't want to hear the whining. So like you like I said, do something that your tomorrow self will thank you for. It sounds like when we're talking about productivity hacks and sounds like we're adding more, but yeah.
No, it takes me the same amount of time. Whether I put that outfit in my suitcase or in my carry-on.
Like your monthly list that you make, like all of that took some time for you to sit down and really go through and think. But
one time I did it
one time hard, and then it just makes all those other small times easier, right? So
and I set things up on my calendar to repeat every so often, so I don't have to keep referring back to things. And now it has become my rhythm of my life, and it makes me
you don't have any other choice. Honestly, you don't. This isn't like, oh, I love making, like maybe you do like making lists, but you also really hate those moments and you don't have any choice. Like
I love feeling prepared for whatever comes up. I love knowing that I'm on top of things, because I have been in periods of time of my life where it didn't take much. We were already financially struggling, and it didn't take much to knock me way off, of course. So I couldn't afford for my car to break down. I had to stay up on maintenance stuff. I couldn't afford to replace things if we forgot to pack them or buy new things at our destination.
That's true. Sometimes like the outcome of having to buy a sweatshirt somewhere else is worse than forgetting it, because it's like I have 20 sweatshirts at home and that's, a percentage of my pay for the week. So like, I can't afford to do that,
exactly. And that's where the planning came in, and just being on my own with 4 little kids, where I had to be vigilant that I had everything handled, because they were all looking to me and there wasn't anyone else to say, hey, what do we do now? Like, it was just me.
You should see me pack for a theme park. Holy crap. I'm totally that mom that like makes the sandwiches ahead of time, because I have and it's not because I love doing it. I'm on a flipping budget, and I'm not going to buy a $20 hot dog. So I got the wipes, I got the waters, I got like everything packed like it was like my actual job. And people are looking at me like, wow. And I'm like,
I always have
enough, and I'm done with the BS. So
I always have snacks in my bag, even now when my kids are grown and out of the house, because
you're a mom and that's just what we do.
I couldn't afford to buy food for 4 kids everywhere that we went, and they get they don't eat their meals, and then they're hungry every 5 minutes later. And we've also been flying and been on the last row of the plane, and they ran out of food by the time they got to us. And I mean, if I hadn't had Pop-Tarts in my bag, we would have my kids would have been whining.
The whole plane would have gone down.
Flight. So okay. We find your rhythm, whatever works for you, whatever makes you feel at your top efficiency, and that you can handle whatever comes up, and that will give you enough confidence to really take on all the things you need to take on, is basically what we're saying. The last tip is also hard for me, but I am working on it. I'm getting much better at it. It's doing one thing at a time. You don't even want to see how many tabs I have open on my computer. It is horrifying. and I flip back and forth between things all day, but I do know that when I sit and focus on one thing from beginning to end, I'm much more likely to do it flawlessly. Whereas if I'm interrupted constantly, which is what happens in my life, I'm interrupted constantly, then I make mistakes. So
yeah, Ron Swanson said it best on Parks and Rec, like, don't half-ass a bunch of things, whole-ass one thing.
yeah,
For me, I will do one whole thing, but then I will take breaks. Like for me, like I do a lot of things on my phone and on my screen, but I also like know if I do too much, it'll hurt its quality, and I'll start to just like not zone out, but it'll start to just hurt its quality. So like I'll complete one thing, I'll purposely stop and take a break and like go clean something because it's channeling another part of my brain. And like I have things in my domestic life and I have things in my work life. So if I do a little of this and a little of that, even though I'm kind of like not fully doing one thing, I feel like I'm being best at everything. Because if I try to do all the domestic things first and then all the work things or vice versa, like it just doesn't work. So I know that in order for me to be best productive, I need to like, does that make sense? I need to like,
totally.
And
I agree with you because I can multitask in some instances. I can load the dishwasher with a baby on my hip and be on the phone at the same time. But if you asked me to like write a contract while I'm, babysitting Noodle, it's harder because I'm not focused on either
just
thing
get the
fully.
contract done and then focus on Noodle. Cause
exactly.
Totally.
And when it's something that does require like a mental focus, that's when you need to just take that task and give yourself time to do it beginning to end. I often will not do things when they first come up. I've had problems in the past with everything on my plate feeling equally urgent. And I've gotten better about realizing that I have to put out the fires first and then deal with other things. And
we got to prioritize your urgent between urgent,
right. And maybe I don't need to check my email right now because I'm focusing on this one thing. And that way I'm not reactive.
Yeah.
But what I've learned is to sometimes put things off until I can focus wholly on the one thing. Even if that means that I have to get up a little earlier and do it before the house wakes up or do it after everyone's in bed. Sometimes I know that this is a task that I can't mess up on. So I'm going to give myself this uninterrupted time to do it, which means it might not get done right away. Yeah.
Yeah.
And also not feeling like everything that is 3 months down the line needs to be done today, because I've gotten much better at realizing what absolutely is urgent. And I have all these like running list of deadlines in my mind. I'm really good at like sliding right in before the deadline.
Oh my God, we're so crazy.
But it isn't that I procrastinated it or forgot about it. It was that I knew it wasn't a fire until today. Now it's a fire.
You put a pin in it. And you'll get to it. It's not gone. It's just like there are other like blazing fires going on right now that need to be tended to. Sorry. Yeah, that's
and normal. It's hard for me and my husband. Our dynamic is different because he's super like ADD, and he needs if he thinks of something, he needs to finish. He needs to get it all done right now. Like if he has an idea, let's do this. He needs to do that thing right at the moment he thinks it. Whereas my brain does not work like that. I'm like, oh, that's a good idea. That's not urgent. I'm going to table that until I have one of those lighter days that I can handle it. Where he's like, if he doesn't do it right that minute, he starts panicking. So I'm working on it. We are working on it together because it's sometimes you have different priorities than the people that could be your coworker or your partner or one of your kids. And you have to kind of modify your rhythm to be able to work with them without conflict.
Well, if you just take this list and just apply some of them, it should help your mental clutter, is what I call it, because it does feel overwhelming at times, especially when you're doing multiple things and you're wearing multiple hats. But if you just apply, go through this list. And if you have any productivity hacks that we didn't talk about, I mean, I'm like I said in the very beginning, I'm always looking for ways to like calm the crazy, because it's like, man, I'm always thinking like I'm doing great, but there's got to be a better way, or an easier way, or more hours in the day. I don't know. I'm just like, whatever you got, please share, because I'm all for it.
I would love to hear what other people have to say about these types of productivity hacks, because this is something that I'm working on continuously. And I think I always will be for probably my whole life. And I know there's a million things that other people have found that works for them that I maybe never have even thought of, or it might not work for me, but it could benefit someone else listening to this. So yeah, I would love to hear other people's productivity hacks. I think if you guys want to go to our Facebook page, She's a Full-On Monet on Facebook. We have a discussion group on there where you can share some of your favorite tips to getting through an overwhelming to-do list kind of day, because I would love to hear them.
Or even just an overwhelming season. I mean, sometimes you wake up and your to-do list is like, it feels like Groundhog Day every day for the 3 months straight, and it's just like a grind. If there's just a way to we're all just here to survive this is the next day, right?
Yeah. Right now we're in the middle of summer, which for me, when the kids were younger, was always the most chaotic time. Everybody had camps and sports and school registrations and all these, they want to be dropped off here and picked up there. And yeah, it's crazy. So definitely
share away.
share the gold. We need to hear it.
Absolutely.
All right, everybody. Thank you for joining us. As always, we appreciate you guys coming back week after week. And just a reminder, we will not be here next week, but we will see you the following week.
Awesome. Enjoy yourself.
Yes. Thank you so much. We'll see you guys soon. Bye.
Thanks so much for listening to this week's episode. Don't forget to bookmark our site, she'safullonmonet.com, and subscribe to our newsletter. You can also find us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. If you're enjoying this podcast, it helps us a lot if you can follow, rate, and review. See y'all next week.